Well, the third floor is right above us. That's where the 3 bedrooms and 2 baths are for the family. And the third floor is a little smaller than this building is wide, so it comes in a little bit. So the edges of the third floor can't rest on these exterior walls like they might in a lot of other houses and carry the load down. Instead, there has to be a separate steel frame built up here above us that carries that weight to these to the piers so that it can go down to the ground. And that, though, is another thing that allows Wright to achieve some of his aesthetic aims, which is this third floor. He wants to, I hate to say float, but he doesn't want it to look like it's part of the house. He wants it to look like this little separate bump up that's off center and that is not sort of connected to these exterior walls. So in order to do that, he's lucky again he had steel so that he could achieve this engineering results. The kitchen, as you can tell, obviously right now is under restoration. It's been torn apart, and there used to be a dishwasher here, which we know is not original, Formica countertops, and there was a vinyl floor and stuff. So they took all that up. But Wright did design this space, as well as the servants' quarters beyond here, so this will all be restored eventually to how it looked. There's a couple of photographs we've blown up of how it looked initially. Where the refrigerator is, there originally was an ice box, and this was before household refrigeration was common. And you can see there's a little sort of window behind it, and that was, talking about technology, that was so the iceman could put ice in without having to come into the house. And that was considered kind of a technological innovation for its day. So that was another thing that Wright wanted to use here. And the call box for the servants' quarters, there used to be a telephone sort of kind of thing right there, and that's where all the intercom phones fed into. I don't know if you can see it. There used to be a picture. Oh, okay, there's a picture over there that shows where that intercom phone was originally.
Do you know what the floor is?
I don't know. This is probably
I would assume
pine.
it would be maple, but it doesn't look like it is.
Well, the pictures that we have of the floor show that there was sort of a tile, like this little hexagonal tile floor on top of this. So this may never have been meant to be the original.
It's a roll surface. It wasn't the tile. You can see in the
Oh, okay.
there's an extra chunk in front of the stove.
Okay.
So
Right.
Linoleum type.
Okay,
roll
yeah.
surface.
Yeah, and
Make it look like tile.
I think they were hoping that would
Yeah.
still be under here, but it had been taken up at some point.
So you're going to restore to that period functioning?
Well, whatever they can identify as original, yeah.
I mean,
As far as functioning, I don't know. I think the ice box will obviously not be, but we'll have the things here, but they probably won't work.
Oh.
If we ever have catered events here, you'd have to bring everything in from outside. I don't know if they'll even do that since this is going to be a house museum now.
Over there that I'm sure is not original.
Yeah.
Window.
Yeah, that's just for the staff. The staff's offices are in the old servants' quarters. There were 2 bedrooms and a bath over the garage. And this was the servants' hall, that room in there, sort of their dining room and stuff like that.
So they had live-in servants here then?
Yeah, the Robies were both from pretty well-off families, and they wanted that lifestyle. So this house always had servants. And during the different censuses, they usually would list at least the live-in servants as well as maybe some of the people who didn't live here too. But there was a guy who took care of the garden and the grounds. Mr. Robie and Mr. Wright both loved cars, so that's one reason he built a 3-car garage for Mr. Robie, because Mr. Robie really had this interest in automobiles. He had his company make a couple of cars for him, and one of the parking bays down there had a pit underneath it so he could work on his cars from underneath. And they'd also designed a car wash sort of inside there, and there's some dispute about whether that was ever built or not. But clearly it shows, Mr. Robie was really into cars, so he wanted them right next to the house. And one thing about the servants' wing of the house is that because of the fire danger that comes from cars, the ceiling over the garage is not just a regular sort of a wood platform structure like the rest of the house, there's actually concrete that's been poured to help protect the house in case one of the cars caught on fire. Back at this time in 1910, I can't imagine that Chicago's building code addressed an issue like that, but that was probably just something that Wright or his people or the contractor thought we should do this, because at this time was not very common to have people living above cars. Still, cars basically were kept in the back where the horses were and stuff like that.
You mentioned grounds. Was this lot much bigger?
No, I mean the lot was never any bigger than this, but just to take care of all the plantings on the outside. The terraces that surround the house, a lot of them had planters built into them, and that was partly because the lot is so small and the house fills up so much of it that he wanted the plants to sort of be part of the house wherever he could. He also had, that was another idea of his, to maintain the privacy of the people who lived here, that there would be sort of tall prairie grasses growing in those planters that would block your view inside of the house. And I don't think I've ever seen a picture showing that was actually done, but that was one of his ideas. And also, if you're architects or designers and you want to save your clients a little money, you can see here that these are clear glass windows, and these were always clear glass. There was never any art glass in these. And the art glass stops right there because from the sidewalk you can only see back about this far. So the only people that see this would be the garbage man. So he's not important. So exactly. So you don't spend money where you don't need to, which is kind of unusual for Wright, because I think he might have initially just wanted all these to be art glass anyway, because it's something else to design. But that's all clear glass. I should have pointed out, too, when we were in the dining room, that there's a room in there, a little room called the Butler's Pantry, that's a buffer between the kitchen and the rest of the house. And that's also been restored to the way it looked originally, with cabinetry and colors and things.
So that would be the servants' entry into the dining room?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, the smells and the noise of the kitchen were not supposed to penetrate into the house, so that was a way to sort of muffle all that sound and noise. And these are some of the original cabinets, by the way, that are still here. All right, I think I've touched on that stuff. I'll tell you about our sprinkler system. We have a combination system in this building. There's sprinklers throughout, as you've seen, but they're in what's called a dry pipe system, so there's no water in the pipes right now. There's only water in them if one of the sprinkler heads opens up. And that's because when water's in these pipes, condensation can form on them that drips down onto the building surfaces, and that can damage plaster and things like that. But the sprinklers, even if a sprinkler opened up from heat, water would not go to that sprinkler head unless the other system we have, which is constantly checking the air for signs of combustion or particles, unless that also detected a fire problem. If those two things happen, then water will go to that sprinkler head, but just heat opening it up is not enough, or just detecting smoke in the air is not enough to activate the system.
It's heat plus smoke?
It's heat plus smoke, exactly. And it's, the system would send an alarm to our alarm company or to the fire department, but it wouldn't send water, just because they're so sensitive about any false opening up of these things, because fire sprinkler open could do lots of damage to the house very quickly. And this fire brick is here on this part of the wall because the stove was always here, so this helps protect the house from the heat of the stove, which at the time would have been considerable, since it would have been sort of a big old stove. Probably, but I'm not sure. Don't write that down.
Okay.